internet bill in fear. He just saw his 12-month promotional price ended. And he just discovered the equipment fees. Back away slowly.
If your internet bill drives you wild, just remember, you're not a bad person. You just need a straightforward price. Get AT&T Fiber. Unlimited internet with no price increase at 12 months. Visit att.com/no hidden fees. Limited availability in select areas.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
I love my Charmin Super Mega Frozen Gold Stars, it's TP Gold, yeah. Charmin's got 6 frozen one, lasts forever on my buns. Only super and I'm cleaning. Charmin's got my booty believing.
Charmin Super Mega Roll is 6 regular rolls in one. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Ever wonder what life would be like without frozen drinks and slushies from McDonald's? Yeah, I don't want to think about that either. It's more than a drink. It's a McDonald's drink.
Right now at McDonald's, get an icy cold medium frozen Fanta Blue Raspberry or frozen Coke for just $1.59. Order on the app and pick up curbside. Price of participation may vary. Available for limited time.
Even when summer heats up, Save Mart gives you the low prices you need to keep the chill summer vibes. Because our vision of summer in the valley hasn't changed. Whether it's crunching into ice-cold watermelon by the pool or grilling out on a Wednesday. And right now, London Broil steak is only $3.99 a pound. Plus, locally grown medium avocados are just 87 cents each. Summer in the Valley means saving at Save Mart. Valley Fresh, Valley Made, Valley Proud.
Online now.
Remember Kathy Comics? You know, the funny page classic that featured Kathy struggling with work, self-esteem, and relationships? My name is Jamie Loftus, host of Lolita Podcast and My Year in Mensa, and I want to take a look back at Kathy Geiswhite's greatest work. Spoiler alert, there is a ton to talk about. And yes, I will be speaking to Kathy Geiswhite herself. Listen to ACTcast by Jamie Loftus, that's AACK, on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
This report, incredible specials on fresh summer looks for men and women. Find the perfect shoes and sandals. And get kitchen prep and cookware from Martha Stewart Collection, going on now at Macy's. Plus, Star Rewards members can earn on every purchase except gift cards, services, and fees.
Close clears. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton at Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. We love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. You're the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful July the 7th, 2021. Rondo de Portes, bonjour, Big C. The Vidi Vidi Vici. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, we don't know which way to go tonight, Charlton. We're sitting around waiting on a hurricane. We're sitting around waiting on lightning to strike. I guess that's all part of the storm. But once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, Charlton, our nurses, doctors, and first responders. They'll be there to respond whichever one strikes first.
Yeah, if you get hit by lightning, hopefully they will respond fast. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also all around the world. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away. Hopefully, he's not going to get it caught up in the eye of that storm, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Man, I love pausing especially because it's so hot in California. I feel like Nelly is getting hot in here, but I'm going to leave my clothes on this time, Big C. But I will never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help, Big C. Everybody's doing it from sea to shining sea, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we often talk about our veterans and the plight that they go through in this country, Charlton, as everyone gets distracted with all the other things that are going on in society, Charlton, COVID-19, sports being back. But our veterans gave us the ability to sit around and worry about those things, Charlton, and to cheer. But now it's time to cheer for our veterans, Charlton, from our military armed forces. Those people have been suffering for decades, Charlton, and we lose over 2 dozen a day to suicide. A very horrific number. We think about how we feel when our team loses a game, Charlton. Think about how it feels to the family of those veteran members, Charlton, when they lose them. For a reason, Charlton, it may have been preventable. We need to talk to our veterans, and we need to talk to all Americans about mental health, how important it is to stay stable. We talk about our physicality because we talk about athletes. But we also have to talk about the mental ability to be able to function every day in this country. And a lot of pressure is on people that they don't often recognize, Charlton. So pay more attention to those people that are around you, especially our veterans. Don't just say thank you for your service. Say, how are you doing today? May I be of service to you? And help a veteran out.
Very well said. It can help even the person making that phone call. That's why I love doing this PSA at 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. You can definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Universe, TV 53, home of the first place San Francisco Giants, at least for now, and the Say Hey Kid, as well as the home run king Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell him Big C sent you. Our goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country, helping to put people back to work. Just like McDonald's does it, Nike does it, car dealerships are doing it, sports teams are doing it. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. When you're looking for home loan, don't just be sure, be Rocket Sure, and I really appreciate that. Also, I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight for presenting Big C Sports to the universe, just like God said in Genesis 1:3. Let there be light. Open your cell phones and say it. Play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up from all over the world, from sea to shining sea, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. Big C, I'm telling you, there's something about the heat and humidity in the Valley of the Sun down there in the Arizona desert, just in Northern California. When I think, oh my God, it's hot in San Francisco, it's only about 80 degrees in San Francisco. When it's hot over in the valley, it may reach 100. It was 106 at nighttime in Phoenix. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, somebody forgot to turn off the heater and left it running, and that electricity bill, didn't have to get too high with that air conditioning going.
Yeah, they didn't have to get too high with that air conditioning going. It's all fair and love and war. I love NBA basketball. It is fantastic. The NBA basketball playoffs universe saw the Phoenix Suns. They cooked the Milwaukee Bucks. It was 118-105 as the heat wave blows out the Valley of the Suns. And just like State Farm, I guess King Chris Paul, he's always there. Big C, your thoughts?
It was an outstanding game for Chris Paul being in his first NBA Finals. Charlton, he led all scorers last night. And he was even scoreless in the first period, but he was patient. He stayed steady to the course, and he was able to turn his game up and assist his teammates in getting to that pass to that first victory in the NBA Finals, Charlton. But just like Milwaukee has done in their previous series, they've always lost the first game.
Yeah, they've always lost the first game. And Big C, correct me if I'm wrong, I know you eat a lot of meat, and I know you give a special thanks to Noah's Ark for bringing all of those livestock through the flood. But I thought in order to cook venison, you have to have a temperature higher than 118. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you're making jerky. You're taking your time.
The Milwaukee Bucks play like they were beef jerky. It's all fair in love and war. Nothing wrong with beef jerky. For you beef jerky podcast sponsors, it's all fair in love and war. When you think about the king out of Arizona, University of Arizona, DeAndre Ayton, as you said he would, Big C, solidifying the Suns' big three on the NBA's biggest stage. Ice Cube has a big three, but the big three down there in Phoenix, Big C, in the NBA, the finals appearance since 1993. The Phoenix Suns wrote Chris Paul I guess he's always on TV, but he's also doing the same thing on the basketball court. He's always on time, Big C. They rode Chris Paul. They rode Devin Booker, Big C, the star on the rise, and DeAndre Hayden in a high-octane third quarter in a 118-105 home victory in Game 1 over Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. And I'm going to say those fair-weather fans down in Phoenix that were emptied about 2 years ago, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, this is what fanfare is all about. You ride the wave, and the Phoenix Suns have provided that since the bubble last year, Charlton, when they went 8-0.
Yeah.
And, they had a kickstart to the season this year. They came out, they didn't let down from where they finished off last season and being the second-best team in the NBA, and now they're favored in the finals, Charlton. But the Phoenix Suns showed a lot of enthusiasm last night. Cameron Payne has been a spark every time he's walked into the game for the Phoenix Suns. I mean, the other guys get the big highlights, but what you look at what Cameron Payne has done throughout the entire playoffs in the NBA this year, Charlton, he's, got to be the sixth man of the playoffs this year.
Big C, you're spot on with what the Big Three were doing. CP3, Chris Paul III, I want to call it King CP3, Chris Paul III. He was brilliant, Big C, particularly in the third. When you think about it, he had 16 points on an array of shots from three and mid-range. And at the rim, he was 6 of 7 from the field. He was 3 of 3 from three in the quarter, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it was an outstanding spark for the, Phoenix Suns, Charlton, in that game. I mean, they did all that it took to win the game last night. They won every quarter. I mean, so the bettors in Vegas were happy with what Phoenix did last night. They won every quarter. Not only that, they covered the spread at the end of the game. So the bettors had an outstanding night betting on Phoenix.
Yeah, it's nice when you cover the spread. It's all fair and level war. The King, Chris Paul, finished dropping 32 points, 9 assists, and a finals debut that put him in the company of some all-time great men, Big C. You have Kareem and also the great Michael Jordan doing their thing. Devin Booker, he's a star rising, continued to impress in his postseason, adding 27 points, 6 assists. He also had 3 steals in his first NBA Finals, Big C. Your thoughts?
It was a complete team effort from the Phoenix Suns, Charlton. Everyone contributed throughout the game, putting on a show last night. I think Milwaukee was a little stumped in the lineup that they utilized. They wanted to play outside basketball instead of playing inside basketball, where they have the advantage over the Phoenix Suns, but they played into the Phoenix Suns game last night.
Yeah, they haven't realized what their advantage is. It's all fair and level war. That's why venison gets barbecued. It doesn't understand to stay away from flames. When you see a flame, don't run if you're a deer. Fly away if all that makes sense to you. The postseason, it has been something of a showcase for the great King Ayton, Big C, after going for 22 points in 8 of 10 shooting and 19 rebounds. I think he really had 20 rebounds, but they gave him 19 rebounds in Game 1. As you mentioned, Ayton's playoff averages are up 16.5 points and 12.2 rebounds, but he was the incarnate of the great Wilt Chamberlain on the rebounds last night, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, he had the first, in his first playoff game, he matched the great Lou Alcindor when he was in Milwaukee as the only players to be in that category. Lou Alcindor scored 31 points and had 20 rebounds. Ayton scored 22 points and had 19 rebounds.
Yeah.
So you think about the rarefied air that, him being compared to Lou Alcindor at that time, a member of the Milwaukee Bucks. But Ayton's been playing this way throughout the entire playoffs.
Yeah.
He's already holding an NBA record for the best field goal shooting percentage in NBA history, Charlton, in a playoff year.
Yeah.
And so he's going to walk out, even if he missed the rest of his shots throughout the playoffs, Charlton, he'll still break the record that James Worthy holds at 62%.
Yeah, if he missed the rest of the shot, Big C, he will be sitting his butt on the sideline. It's all fair and level war, but I understand your point. The series so far is over. When you think about it, it's far from over. Though with 20 points and 17 boards, great King Giannis Antetokounmpo, he looked a little bit spry, Big C, after he had that hyper extension, Big C, of his left knee. Chris Middleton got going in the third and finished dropping 29 points, a breakout performance from the great Drew Holiday, Big C. Still feels like a possibility. And as the old adage goes, the buck role players, they figure to play a better role at home, but you can't get barbecued in Phoenix and hope that you're spry enough to play when you get back to Milwaukee, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I thought going into the game, if Giannis played, that he would be a hindrance for the Bucks, Charlton. I felt that they would be better off without him, because what happens when Giannis has the ball in his hands, his teammates start standing around and trying to figure out what he's going to do. Is he going to drive to the basket? Is he going to pull up a three? Or is he going to kick it back out? if you look at the two games that he missed and the ebb and flow that they had playing against the Atlanta Hawks, they were a well-orchestrated offense, Charlton, and they played within themselves. You had Lopez staying down in the paint, dominating. And I thought that Budenholzer would go into the game last night with that same game plan, but he decided he wanted to go with Giannis because of what Giannis has done in the regular season over the past couple of years. But the playoffs have been a different horse. The Milwaukee Bucks have dominated when they've gone inside, and they've lost when they have chosen not to.
McCall Bridges understands what King LeBron James did when the Golden State Warriors were playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, and a good boy was trying to get a layup, and LeBron chased it down and blocked it, Big C, from behind. And the same thing happened last night with McCall Bridges. But I want to just say, I did not think that Giannis would play, because obviously you're talking about this is a career franchise player. They don't, in my opinion, need him. I mean, they went out and lost by 13 points with him and maybe jeopardized his health. But I know if you want to play, nobody's going to stop you from playing. He did drop in 20 points, and he was off to the races, especially playing defense. But I thought he wilted just a little bit down the stretch, Big C, because maybe he was trying to protect the pain that was coming off that knee, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, he never looked good throughout the game, Charlton. Yes, he had some moves early on, but he never, to me, looked like he was settled out on the court.
Yeah, it's all fair and level war. He did went from not being able to walk just a couple of days ago, and now he's out there and doing his thing, trying to help the Milwaukee Bucks not get barbecued down in that 116-degree heat. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, game 2 is tomorrow night. We'll see what happens at that point.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in that point. Will it be venison or will it be beef jerky? It's all fair in Leaven War. Remember, Milwaukee Big C called you beef jerky. I called you venison. It's all fair in Leaven War. Different cut off the ox. Big C, in the NHL playoff hockey universe, my goodness, I want to do a PSA. I think I got one more night to do it. Just one more night to do it. That one shining moment, the great Teddy Pendergrass. All of you NHL hockey arenas, if you're not playing the game of NHL hockey, please take whatever ice you have left over and send it out to California so we can help end that drought. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I believe Sam Darnold, the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, is from California. And so just based on him, Californians don't have a problem getting mononuclear.
Hey, be careful who you're swapping spit with. It's all fair. They need to have a filter for people who swap spit the way they have a filter for water so you don't get the mono. It's all fair in Leaven War. The Tampa Bay Lightning, Big C, I think tonight's the night. The great Rod Stewart. Tampa Bay Lightning, Big C, a 3-2 series advantage. I mean, actually they're up 3-1, but they had a 3-2 overtime loss to the Montreal Canadiens, even though they outshot them 34-21. In Game 4, continued a playoff trend for the defending Stanley Cup champions, Big C. That game marked the 5th time in 6 series that the Tampa Bay Lightning, Big C, that the first time that they had the chance to clinch, and then they lost their first opportunity to clinch, Big C. But in the other 4 series, Tampa Bay always won the next game. And last I checked, tonight's the night of the next game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this is the next game, Charlton. And as I thought, Tampa played good enough to win. They missed 3 close shots, Charlton, ricocheting off the post. But they're coming back home with the electricity that's going to be in that arena in Tampa tonight, Charlton. And I don't think that they're going to be held off by the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal was lucky to get that game 4 in this series, Charlton, and not be swept. But I think they're going to be going off the ice tonight with their heads hanging down.
Yeah, heads hanging down. And look out for that lightning. I know there's a storm coming around the state of Florida. It's all fair in Leaven War, but there's a lot of people that really got to take cover and heed the warnings of your local officials staying safe. But when you think about back to the ice, Big C, a lot have to go with goalie Andre Valesky, who he hasn't lost 2 in a row in the playoffs since 2019, Big C. The Lightning, they're up 3-1 in Lord Stanley's Cup finals against the Canadiens. I'm sorry, Canada, but it's most likely going to stay in the United States. They're going to try to clinch the championship at home tonight. Most likely will happen. If it does not happen, then they got to lose a couple more games, so most likely they'll win tonight. Big C, no team has done that since the 2015 Chicago Blackhawks, who beat the Lightning that year. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't think that Montreal has enough, Charlton, to go on a 3-game winning streak against the Lightning. The Lightning will strike tonight. They will strike hard. You'll see a very aggressive frontline attack from the Lightning, Charlton, versus the Habs.
Yeah.
And it all will be over in hoisting Lloyd Stanley's Cup tonight down in Florida.
Yeah, it's all fair in Leavenworth. Who's hot? When you think about who's hot, Big C, I think about who's hot. The Nelly was singing "It's Getting Hot in Here," but the Montreal forward Nick Suzuki had a 3-game point streak, Big C. When line-mate rookie Cole Caulfield has 3 points over the past 2 games, and when you think about some of the notes, if the Lightning win tonight, Big C, forward Nikita Kucherov 32 points and Vasilevsky 4 shutouts would be the front runners of the Conn Smythe Trophy as the playoffs MVP chasing Lord Stanley's Cup. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you think about it, Montreal has never led in this series other than in the overtime victory, Charlton. So they only led for less than a second when you think about it. So they have not been able to hold the lead at any point in this series against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
And so this is a team that's always been running from behind.
Yeah.
And eventually you run out of steam running from behind, Charlton.
Yeah, sometimes you run out of steam running from behind. But if someone's behind you, you better run a lot faster. The great Usain Bolt is all fair in Leavenworth. I want to talk about the pitch. Hit deep. Right field. Back to the wall. Home run. The girls love the long ball, and the men love hit the deep. It's all fair in Leavenworth. I want to bring you to a little bit of trouble brewing off the Pacific Ocean down south in Southern California, beautiful Southern California, home of the defending World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Big C, the Dodgers have canceled Trevor Bauer's his bobblehead night. They should have canceled his knucklehead night, if that makes sense to you, Big C. But scheduled for August 19th, and have removed all of his merchandise from the team online store. A team representative confirmed that today. In a statement, listen up, ladies that like to date men online. In a statement, the Dodgers said they did not feel it was appropriate to continue to promote those items while investigations continued into a domestic violence restraining order that was filed in Los Angeles County Superior Court. Any woman who's ever filed a restraining order, you're not doing that just because you're bored. You do it because it's real. The woman who filed it last week, Big C, is a serious issue. Major League Baseball and the Pasadena Police Department, they're doing the investigation. But the thing that's a little bit absurd is even after it came out that what he had done to that woman and caused her to have bodily injuries, the Dodgers, they trotted him out there to play baseball anyway, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I'm wondering if Major League Baseball will do like the NFL, to a white player like the NFL has done to black players. Kick them out of the league.
They put black men out of the league. They shame them by putting them on TV over and over and over again. They have all the rights, the women's rights group that come out and say, I can't believe they're taking a knee and not serving this military. And at the same time, it's just a fact. And I'm asking white media, mainstream media, why is there a double standard when a white man can brutalize a woman? And most women have produced kids at some point in time. If you're born, you came out of the womb of a woman. But why is it when a white man abuses a woman, people say you can go out and play anyway, we're going to wait for the investigation. But when men of color do it, they always want to end their careers until the investigation's over. Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, is no different than the insurrection on January 6th when all those white people attacked the nation's capital.
Yeah.
Nobody was shooting anybody, Charlton, because they looked like themselves.
Yeah.
Same thing with Trevor Bauer. He looked like the people that are investigating.
Yeah, look like the people that are investigating him. And it's all fair in Leavenworth. As Dr. King said, the arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice, and I hope there'll be justice no matter who's right or wrong. It's all fair in Leavenworth. Major League Baseball, the beautiful city of Chicago, where it's being called windy, not because it's windy, but because of its politics, Big C. The Chicago White Sox, with their maybe the best manager in baseball that can win a game while taking a nap, the great Tony La Russa, Big C, future Hall of Fame coach, they are 51-35, Big C, despite their slew of injuries, and they're running away with the AL Century. In Chicago, the Cubs are always the fan favorite, but the White Sox, Big C, with that manager who doesn't need no dose, Big C, they are 51-35, Big C. Your thoughts?
You know, Tony La Russa has been shuffling the deck in the right way in the Windy City on the south, on the north side, Charlton, with the White Sox this year.
Yeah.
He's done a phenomenal job. I mean, they had a host of talent going into the season. Everybody thought at the end of the season last year that the White Sox could be in the running. They just needed the right skipper to pull the strings, and Tony La Russa has accomplished that thus far.
He did his thing with the Oakland A's, Big C. He did his thing with the St. Louis Cardinals, and now he's doing his thing in the second city's second favorite team for baseball, the Chicago White Sox. But you believe they have an 8-game lead over the Cleveland Big C, 42-42, dropping 9 in a row. And being no-hit, not an official no-hitter against the Tampa Bay Rays in the second game of the doubleheader, but there's something brewing in Chicago, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Chicago has been hot all year long, Charlton. Now we got that sweltering summer coming along, so the ball is going to carry. I mean, they've been shuffling the lineup, getting rid of the guys that weren't producing, sending them down for assignment, bringing up guys with hot bats out of the minors. Yeah, hot bats out of the matter. It's hot in the Windy City. It's not the kind of the hot that you got down in Phoenix, Arizona, where you can strike a match by not striking it, just hold it out, let the air hit it down in Phoenix, Arizona. It's all fair and level war. The air conditioner companies must be making a fortune down in Phoenix. Big C, your thoughts? Oh, Charlton, the HBCC people down there, Charlton, are not loving the work, but they're loving the cash.
They're loving that bank account, and they don't need paper bags that burn up in the heat. It's all fair and level war. Major League Baseball, Big C. On one hand, it's a bummer, as people might look at it. You have the great pitcher Jacob deGrom, Big C. That good old boy's been doing his thing all year. He will not be at the All-Star game in beautiful Denver, Colorado. You think about this. He's the best pitcher, in my opinion, in the universe, at least right now, Big C. And seeing him and let him eat an inning would have been great, because if you're the best pitcher in the baseball universe, you would think baseball is about marketing. This would be like having an NBA All-Star and not have a Michael Jordan or a Magic Johnson or Kobe or Shaq or LeBron, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you know, baseball purists and fans, Charlton, are going to miss something with Jacob deGrom not being in Denver for the All-Star game, Charlton. He's lights out pitching all year long. I mean, he's leading the majors in ERA. So, I mean, this is something that the fans are going to miss out on, but I guess he wants to rest, to spend some time with his family, and get back into the pennant hunt.
It's all fair and level war. I went to a great fight. They had a great fight. They had about 4 fighters that were right before the main fight. The main fight was going to be Muhammad Ali. And they said, tonight Muhammad Ali will not be fighting, but we have Jack Jones. He's been beating up everybody at the casinos. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, baseball is full of stars, and when you think about the All-Star game, you're normally never going to get more than 2 innings out of any pitcher in the game. The starter might go 3, but it's just going to be a round robin of people coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, coming out of the bullpen. On the other hand, as you mentioned, baseball season is a very long season, and Jake deGrom, Big C, has missed time with injuries, and that's understandable. And deGrom could, of course, still attend the All-Star game, Big C. I believe they had private jets that fly out of New York into Colorado. There's a lot of All-Star game festivities, but he wants to stay at home and rest for the second half. It's not beneficial for him to fly to Colorado and back on a private jet. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, they got a lot of smoke out there in Colorado, so it might not be good for his mom.
Yeah. Friend of mine flew into Denver, Colorado, and they said the pilot said they had to keep circling the airport because there was too much smoke to land at Denver International. It's all fair in level war. It was about 4:20 p.m. when they were trying to land. Rumor has it, Big C, it's all fair and level war. Also, back to Major League Baseball. Before we come up on the Big C pause, breaking the day, the Tampa Bay Rays, Big C, they hold the Cleveland Indians to 0 hits in 7 innings, and the second time this season that a team has been held to 0 hits in a 7-inning game. It was Baumgartner versus the Braves back on 4/25. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, unfortunately, the Major League Baseball would not recognize that. When you think about Madison Baumgartner against the Braves down in Arizona, he threw a perfect game in the second game of a doubleheader, Charlton, which only goes 7 innings now under baseball's new rules, but they won't put the game in the record books for Baumgartner as a perfect game. And then we see that duplicated again today by the Rays, Charlton, with a no-hitter, and baseball won't recognize it either. And yet they changed the rules to be such as they are.
Yeah, it's amazing how you have a great game. They're now doing strip searches inside of a man's jockstrap to see what he has on his balls, Big C, before he throws a pitch. And now they say the game's going too long, but they added the strip search, and now they don't want the best pitcher to attend the All-Star game, and they have so many other shenanigans where they don't want to honor things that we see with our own 2 eyes. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk more about baseball and a lot of other sports that use pigskins that came across on Noah's Ark. In the words of the former California governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow, even over in England, all across the world. I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, let there be light. Open your cell phone and just say it, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up from all over the universe, and I really do appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. Big C, Major League Baseball, the Philadelphia Phillies in the city of brotherly love where they boo Santa Claus, they're the 5th team to score 13 or more runs in back-to-back games in a series against the Chicago Cubs at the historic Wrigley Field. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Chicago Cubs, Charlton, have been in a downward spiral. You know, a month ago, they had a pitcher throw a no-hitter.
Yep.
And the Chicago Cubs have not won a game since that no-hitter. And, you know, the Phillies have struck up back-to-back games with 13 runs plus, Charlton, against the Cubs. I mean, when you think about the ERA of that staff right now, it's getting to the numbers of a basketball game in the NBA.
Yeah, they're starting to say maybe some of those baseball players, Doc Rivers might want to get some of those Phillies to come play for the 76ers. It's all fair in Love and War. Ben Simmons, be careful. The Reds did it back in 76, Big C. The Phillies did it in 79. The Mets did it in 1990 and the Astros in 2000. No team has ever done it in 3 straight games of a series against the Cubs at the beautiful field that Harry Carey used to say, take me out to the ball game. Now I'm sure he would have been saying, can somebody get somebody out, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Cubs, you know, they're going to loathe the day, Charlton, that they let Joe Madden go, and now Joe Madden is winning and they're losing.
That's a very good point, because, you know, Madden was doing his thing, and sometimes we live in a microwave society where everybody wants what they want and they want it now. They don't want to take the time to get to know somebody or get to pray about it or just take their time to make sure that you're showing your efforts into good seed, Big C. So people want everything now and they don't want to wait. But it's amazing how that's the city of Chicago's favorite team. I think the Cubs are more famous than the Chicago Bulls. They're more famous maybe even than the Chicago Bears, Big C. But they gave up on a good manager that, in my opinion, gave them more of what they needed. But why would they give up on somebody that had brought so much success to that great organization for the Cubs, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, there was an organization that was impatient after being in the doldrums for so long. They could not appreciate the success they had. They wanted it again right away. And they thought by changing numbers and managers that they would get it back, Charlton.
Yeah.
And yet they're back to where they were before Madden showed up.
Yeah, back to where they were before Madden showed up. I think it's called Groundhog Day. It's all fair in Love and War, but the Cubs will find their stride. It's all fair in Love and War. I want to run down some of today's Major League Baseball schedule on a beautiful July the 7th, 2021. You have the Cleveland Indians at the Tampa Bay Rays, Big C. The Atlanta Braves. I'm not going to tell the score, but they were playing a football game today against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's all fair in Love and War. The White Sox to Chicago and the Minnesota Twins. The Detroit Tigers at the Texas Rangers down in Texas. Bring your own Gatorade down near J.R. Ewing match. The Brewers of Milwaukee at the Jacob deGrom Mets, Big C, in New York City. The Reds are at the Royals down in Kansas City. The Cleveland Indians at the Tampa Bay Rays. Again, the Red Sox at the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I never thought that going down to Anaheim that you would ever find someone that's more exciting than a big mouse at Disneyland. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the house of the mouse is forever down in Anaheim. Shohei Ohtani has showed up. I mean, and it's not even the year of the rat.
Yeah.
He's just explosive.
Yeah. The Angels, City of Angels, Los Angeles, Anaheim, their favorite mascot is a mouse, Big C, unlike the rat in New York City. What is it about Anaheim on the West Coast? Their favorite rodent is a mouse, but in New York City, their favorite rodent is a rat, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, those mountains were just abundant everywhere. But when you think about what Disneyland has brought in, everyone thought about their kids as being little mountains.
Yeah, it's all fair. 11 Ward, Big C. The Blue Jays at the Baltimore Orioles. The defending world champion Los Angeles Dodgers. They're having to go at it with the Miami Marlins down in Florida. There's no heat and humidity inside of that dome, Big C. What's up with the Dodgers trying to go on vacation already in Miami, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, I think they're troubled by the actions of their teammate that's been suspended and has bothered the players' production on the field.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Very, very prescient, Big C. The Milwaukee Brewers at the New York Mets and Phillies at the Cubs. The Oakland Athletics at the Houston Astros. The Colorado Rockies at the Arizona Diamondbacks. The St. Louis Cardinals at the City by the Bay, the San Francisco Giants. And the Nationals at the Padres. And then the Yankees will take on the Seattle Mariners in the beautiful city of Seattle, Washington. Rumor has it, Big C, they've been a shortage of fish since some city slickers brought some rats out of New York. They've been eating all the fish at the fish market. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, there's a lot of fish, Charleston, are bottom dwellers, and maybe that's what the rats are picking up on.
Yeah, be careful when you unpack luggage coming out of LaGuardia or JFK. I don't know how many times I had things missing, and the sky captain said, I'll check and see if we get it back. It's all fair and level. Well, that's not they coming back. But I do appreciate flying into LaGuardia or JFK. It's all fair and level work. Big C, I wanna tell you something that I think is a major milestone, in my opinion, in the world of Major League Baseball. Today, Miguel Cabrera, Big C, had a go-ahead RBI infield single as a pinch hitter for Detroit. Right after previously unbeaten all-star pitcher Kyle Gibson, he left with the bases loaded, Big C, and the Tigers went on to beat the Texas Rangers 5-3. And now you have Joey Galloway homered twice to become the first Rangers player ever with 10 homers in a 10-game stretch. And those solo shots combined went for more than 900 feet, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Joey Gallo's been hot, Charleston, as of late. 10 consecutive games with home runs. I mean, he set a Rangers record, Charleston. But, you know, this is what players are doing this time of year. As we look around from day to week in Major League Baseball, there's always somebody on a hot streak, whether it's a pitcher or a batter, Charleston. Baseball is just phenomenal, and you can never put your finger on the pulse who's going to be next.
You can never put your finger on that pulse, Big C. All-star right fielder who has 23 homers, Big C, overall. Also had his fourth outfield assist of the season and drove in the other Texas run and drew his AL best 67 walks in bases loaded in the eighth, Big C. And sometimes it's all fair and level war, but that's a lot, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Joey Gallo's been phenomenal. I was watching a game with him last week, Charleston, when they said, you know, you don't want to pitch to him in this situation. And the second pitch he took out of the park, and he hasn't slowed down since.
Yeah, hit deep. Right field is all fair and level war. I wish everybody nothing but the best in the world of baseball. Big C, I wanna bring you to something that I know you like. I mean, everybody talks about what's going on in the world of sports. They have tennis going on across the pond. I have no idea why they had such a great tennis match going on across the pond in London, England, as we had Phoenix. They were cooking those venison down in the desert, but it's all fair and level war, Big C. NBA basketball. Although the Phoenix Suns, they took Game 1 of the 2021 Game 1 Finals, NBA Finals against the Milwaukee Bucks, or maybe they should call them the Milwaukee Venison, or you said call them the Milwaukee Beef Jerky. What's the difference, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, I mean, it's just Game 1 of the series. We got to see how it pans out from here.
Yeah, it was not really a notable loss. They did suffer a notable loss, though. The team announced today that backup center Dario Saric will be out indefinitely with a torn ACL. I know there is so much concern about Giannis, King Giannis, but Saric was injured late in the first quarter when his knee buckled on a drive to the basket. And I know people say, well, anyone can get hurt anytime. But that might be as much a fatigue, just adding up like a lot of other players have added up fatigue-wise. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, it comes from planning, Charleston. I don't think his is fatigue because he's the backup center.
Yeah.
He's not playing as much as Ayton is in the game, but this puts a lot more pressure on Ayton's shoulder to stay healthy and stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah, to stay out of foul trouble. It's all fair and level war. I wish everybody nothing but the best. You just have that one shiny moment, and you gotta stay healthy to have that one shiny moment. Big C, first and goal from the 5-yard line, rolling to his right, throws to the end zone, touchdown! Everybody loves touchdown in college football. You have the owners of a Florida-based chain of mixed martial arts gyms unveiled big plans Tuesday, Big C, to try to help the University of Miami Hurricanes football players take advantage of a new rule that allowed them to make money. Newsflash, University of Miami players have always made money, Big C, if that's just an opinion that I have. I think it's very true opinion. It is. A lot of guys at the U, they know that, Big C. But to take advantage of that rule to make money legally, I should say, Dan Lambert, the owner of America's Top Team and longtime Miami football fan, he's offered each scholarship player, 90 total, on the Miami football team, a monthly payment of $500 this year to advertise his gym on social media. A lot of Miami players were upset because they said they usually get that in a quarter, Big C. It's all fair level where rumor has it. So America's Top Team is a home of training facility for more than 24 professional fighters, including Jorge Masvidal and also Amanda Nunes. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think it's great that kids now can profit off their name, likeness, and image, Charlton, and be able to go out there and make the money legally instead of having to sneak around and get the universities put on probation under NCAA sanctions, Charlton. And this is long overdue. I mean, you could go back over the years if you choose to, but you can't worry about what's happened before. You just got to move on now, and the law is what the law is.
Yeah, the law is what the law is, and I hope that every player will actually take advantage of listening. And when people were saying, how are they going to figure it out? I mean, it's not fair. How are some people on the badminton team not going to get money and some people on the football team are getting money? Well, they will figure it out, and when smart people talk, oftentimes things get figured out a lot more easily, and I look forward to these young kids, these student athletes, for a chance, having the chance to play and make some real money. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, everybody has an opportunity. All sports are not equal when it comes to college athletics.
Yeah.
But visibility is, Charlton. When you're a high-profile athlete at your university, regardless of your sport, you'll be able to capitalize on your name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
We saw that the first day that it happened. Two twin basketball players at Fresno State.
Yeah.
When they signed a deal with T-Mobile to go out and sponsor. We're not even talking about a Power 5 school. We're not even talking about a top-ranked college basketball program.
Yeah.
But they went out and they capitalized on their name right off the bat.
Yeah, I know the guy I know by the name of Big C was driving a Cadillac with a float device, Big C, back in the day. It's all fair and level. Where Lambert's offered, however, help the Hurricanes, which could add up as much as $540,000 this year, is the largest reported sum for a college sport, Big C, if an endorsement deal since new state laws and NCAA rules open the doors for players to make money just like the guys that coach them. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, what this does is it creates some level of equality financially for all athletes. I know that the quarterback at the University of Miami, De'Aaron King, and Mackenzie Milton, the quarterback at Florida State, did a joint venture on a promotional company, Charlton, where they're getting upwards to $2,000 for speaking engagement. So the quarterbacks have always been able to capitalize on their gift at that position.
Yeah, they have, and I'm glad that other people are getting that chance. It's all fair in level war. I want to swing it over to the West Coast, the best conference in college football and actually the best conference in all of college sports, Big C, for winning championships by more than 200. The Pac-12 has won more championships than any other conference in the land combined sports. Second would be the Big Ten with them good old boys in the Windy City. But college football, Big C, the college football coaching jobs, the showdown with Oregon and Washington, the Ducks and the Huskies, Big C. I want to just ask you, I know you're a Southerner. You probably don't even know they play football out in the West Coast, Big C. But which would you consider the best job? The Oregon-Washington rivalry does not garner as much national attention as Michigan, Ohio State, or Alabama, Auburn, or Oklahoma and Texas. But the roots in hostility, or you guys call it from the South, Southern hospitality, it runs pretty deep, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I guess you call the Huskies the dogs, don't you? And Oregon the ducks. I guess you could say that dog won't hunt, and that duck's going to get away. I would have to take Oregon in this situation. When you look at them on television and the plethora of uniform combinations that they have, they're the best dressed team in all of college football, Charlton. And when you have an uncle like Phil Knight, and we just talked about the endorsement deal that the University of Miami is going to get, can you imagine what the University of Oregon's players are going to get? Phil Knight is going to, if not double, but triple that deal that the University of Miami players are going to get financially.
Yeah, there was a TV, a movie series, and they had a good old boy say, $100 million, that's nothing for the great night up there at the Oregon Ducks. Some of these guys might get so much money, they may say, why in the heck am I playing football? I should just go work for Uncle Knight. It's all fair in love and war. But when you think about it, the bordering schools, they don't like one another, even though their biggest rivals, Washington State and Oregon State, but these two big behemoths of the Pac-12 don't like each other very well. And their series has featured plenty of flashpoints, as well as success on both sides of the ball since 1990, Big C. I believe that's the year Donnie James won a national championship with the University of Washington Huskies under Billy Joe Herbert and Mark Bennell, and then we go to guys Beano Bryant. And then they have the bordering schools. And when you think about what happened up in the Great Northwest that a lot of people don't know about, Big C, since 1990, Washington and Oregon have combined for 16 of the Pac-10 and Pac-12 championships outright are shared, including the past 3 and 5 of the past 7, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, I guess you would say there's no dominant team in California, Charlton. They're all up there in the Pacific Northwest, Washington and Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, those teams have battled it out. I mean, we saw Oregon last year win the Pac-12 championship, Charlton, outright. So, I mean, them and Washington, they've been the only teams from the Pac-12 to participate in the college football playoff.
Yeah, they really have. And I think when USC had the dominant seasons under Pete Carroll, the best team in the country, 3 national championship games in a row, a lot of those players, once the probation happened, that was erroneous, it was wrong, it was crooked. A lot of those kids, they went up north instead of staying in Southern California and playing for the Trojans or UCLA, but that's all fair and level war. That will come back, like the great Arnold Soros, like I said.
Well, maybe they didn't want to be caught in a dirty situation, Charlton. If you're on probation, it's hard to recruit top-flight kids.
Yeah, but Big C, they were doing the same thing the guys down south do, and somebody told, and rumor has it the phone call.
No, I don't know. We know what happened from the NCAA's investigation.
Yeah, well,
is that USC was breaking the rules and they were put on probation for it.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't see any other Pac-12 schools from that time going on. I mean, we can allege what anybody has done.
Yeah.
But we know for a fact what UCLA has done based on USC based on the penalty.
Yeah, but you just caught the problem. The people for USC, they say it was UCLA that was doing it. But some of the guys from the South that did the investigation, they couldn't tell UCLA from USC because the letters were too much to count, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, but they willingly said and accepted culpability, Charlton.
Yeah.
They gave back the trophies. They gave back the championship.
Yeah.
They gave back the money. So evidently, they understood what they did was wrong.
Yeah, it's all fair in Leavenworth Ward, Big C. They did add, they are the only, as you mentioned, Pac-12 schools to appear in the college football playoffs. Oregon reached the inaugural title game in 2014, and where they blew out Florida State and then lost to Ohio State, Washington went to the semifinal 2 years later, and they lost to Alabama, where they felt they were at a slow dance competition because Nick Saban taught all of his offensive linemen to hold and grab. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, like I said, that dog won't hunt. They got run over by the elephant.
It's all fair in Leavenworth Ward, but I do want to bring up something because you always bring that Southern hostility when you talk about the Pac-12, and I don't know why, Big C. They've had the most success of any college conference in the history of the universe, and that's a fact, Big C. And I want to stand up for a star player, college football, former USC star, and I guess a former friend of Kim Kardashian, who's been known to pay out money like Phil Knight, if that makes sense to you, and a few other things, Big C. The great Reggie Bush, after the NIL rules, name, image, and likeness announced, he never cheated the game. The former USC superstar, he tweeted that today, Big C. Think about this. 1 year after Bush left USC for the NFL, the NCAA opened an investigation into allegations that he and his family received gifts and financial payouts during his college career. A lot like coaches and everybody else with white skin on the USC sideline were getting paid to watch Reggie Bush do his thing up and down the field. Bush received lavish gifts from two fledgling sports marketing, hoping to sign him, and the gifts ranged from hotel stays and rent-free homes where Bush's family allegedly, apparently lived, and a limousine and a new suit, and then he accepted his Heisman Trophy in New York City, December 2005. At that time, the USC and the NCAA's disciple USC disassociated itself from Reggie Bush, and I thought USC was wrong to do that because they knew, as well as anybody else in any other conference, what's going on. They even know what's going on in your urine. They know who you're hanging out with, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, those are your opinions that they were wrong for doing that, Charlton, but they felt that they were right, justified, and they executed the action, Charlton, and what they did was legal and proper to do, to disassociate yourself from somebody who has cost you tens of millions of dollars, Charleston, as far as what goes into the university's coffer, cost you championships that you had to renounce, Charleston, and all of those embarrassments that come along with it. I mean, it wasn't alleged that he took those things. He took those things. Otherwise, the suspension wouldn't have took place, that the penalties wouldn't have took place at USC. I mean, to sit there and cover for Reggie Bush to say what he did wasn't that egregious, well, I guess you could go back to SMU when they got the death penalty from the NCAA about all the players receiving cars and illegal gifts back then during the 70s and 80s, Charleston, down in Texas. You could go to Ohio State with Terrell Pryor, who kicked off the team for receiving improper benefits and it cost him his senior year, and he had to go into the supplemental draft into the NFL. So there's decades and decades of players, Charleston, who did what Reggie Bush did. It's just like the Olympic sprinter who was caught, having marijuana in her system after she had won the 100-meter trial to qualify for the Olympic, team for America, Charleston. When the rules are on paper, you have to be the dumbest jock in the room if you don't understand the rules. Maybe he didn't have any English classes while he was at USC, so he couldn't read and understand the rules. That could be his only defense.
No, he's a very smart man, and if you listen to lawyers, and even the Supreme Court today, the NCAA was doing antitrust violations, Big C, which it was illegal. So it's an
so what you're saying is that all the years that the NCAA has been operating, they're going to go back now and rescind every penalty that they put on universities and athletes over the decades, and everybody's going to get restitution for what they lost during that time.
No, I'm saying that the Supreme Court said that, Big C.
They said that today?
No, I'm saying the Supreme Court said it's an antitrust violation for them to do what they were doing to kids for over the years. So maybe the Supreme Court's wrong. So what you're saying is that all the sanctions that were put on universities and students over the decades were illegal. When a person's falsely accused and arrested and incarcerated, do you know that when they realize that they've committed a violation in the incarceration, they expunge that person's record and let them out? Big C, your thoughts?
But what you're saying right now, we're talking about totally different things, Charleston. You're talking about a criminal act versus an NCAA act. What's in the writings of the law of the NCAA, which was the governing body, had nothing to do with the Supreme Court at that time. No one challenged it through the years. It was in place. And so what I'm saying is, does the NCAA now go back and embellish all of the sanctions that they put on universities and students other than Reggie Bush and say, okay, Brian Bosworth, you get to play in the Orange Bowl. We're going to go back and replay that because you had got suspended for taking benefits, and all the other athletes over the years. They're going to go back and do it for them. The basketball players. Think about all the James Wiseman, just 2 years ago, the Warriors' #1 pick, who was kicked off the team down at the University of Memphis because they said he got improper benefits.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to go back and play his basketball his freshman year at the University of Memphis, where he only got to play 12 games. And it goes on and on, Charleston, when we're talking about athletes. You can't take Reggie Bush and make him the saint because he was just as dirty as everybody else.
And see, that's where I think you need to read a little bit more, because I don't understand how you, of all people, are going to defend these white crooks who...
I'm not defending any crooks. I'm defending the laws that were written on the book. Okay, so what you're saying is that the Olympic governing body should allow, and I can't think of her name, she just won the 100 meters last week, Charleston, and she was disqualified because she had marijuana in her system. Even though she had just lost her mother, she found out from a reporter, and the next day she tested positive for marijuana. Marijuana is not a performance enhancement drug. It's not going to make you run fast. But they still will not let her go run in the Olympics because everybody understands the situation and can empathize with her. Yeah. But what's in the rule in writing is in the rule in writing. Even though the state that she was running in, Oregon, marijuana is legal.
Okay, but if you ask me a question and then you say, so you're saying, if you let me talk, I'll tell you what I'm saying. Would you believe that slavery was in the laws of the United States Constitution? Would you believe that, Big C, yes or no?
Did they pay him restitution,
Johnson? I'd ask you, but was slavery in the part of the United States law?
Slavery was in the laws of the Constitution, but did they pay him restitution?
I asked you a question. You don't know the question, should I slow it down?
I said slavery was in the laws of the Constitution, and it was the way of America. But did the slaves get restitution for it?
Was slavery right or wrong, Big C, in your thoughts?
Slavery has never been right anywhere in the world, and slavery didn't start in America. All they did was went and profited from the slaves that were already enslaved and brought them to America, Charlton. But what I'm saying is, I answered your question, and answer this. Did the slaves get restitution?
So you answered an ignorant question. I'm going to tell you about something, a little bit of education I'm going to give you. There are countries all over this world, and anyone listening can Google it. They paid what's called reparations. Reparations is also dealing right now with Congress that's considering reparations. You know why they consider reparations, Big C? Because things that happened to people were illegal, and they were wrong. Just like the NCAA, if you Google the word antitrust violation, it was illegal, Big C. So why do you want to defend old white men who've done an illegal act to both, for the most part, take advantage of young black men and strip them of their wealth and their name, image, and likeness, and for the white men to profit? And then when the black man goes out and does what the white guy's doing, they take the black man's scholarship and they penalize him and take away his scholarship, and now you're clapping for the white man. I don't understand that, Big C. Your thoughts?
No, Charlton, I'm stumping for the NCAA policy that we all had to operate under when we were players at that time in college sports. I had to operate under the same rules. I had friends in college. There were other athletes that had to operate under the same rules. Times change. Laws change. We were all slaves in America 200 years ago, Charlton, but slavery was abolished. We got our semi-freedom. Not complete, semi-freedom. So everything takes time to get done. Those are the laws of the land at the time. Those are the laws of the land when Reggie Bush, he gets no preferential treatment above anybody else during that time. They're not going to go back and reconstruct all the laws to appease one individual, Charlton.
Yeah, and again, I'm not here to be at odds with you. Some people thought that slavery was a good thing, especially down in the South where they own people who look just like you. And they said, how dare you question me making money off of you? And we had a civil war fought over at Big C, and I think the same thing is analogous to college sports. You had old white men who were egregiously taking every single thing a person had, name, image, and likeness, and making tens of millions, in fact, hundreds of millions. And the young black kids and some white kids, if they went out and got a steak dinner because their stomach was hungry, they lost their scholarship. I have no idea how you can stand on the side with those people to defend them.
Well, think about this, Charlton. Prior to desegregation, those black kids couldn't go to those white colleges in the South. After desegregation, they chose to go there. They were not slaves. They chose to go there freely and play for those guys.
Yeah, they were given paper bags full of money, but it's all fair and level more. I want to make sure, if you're defending the antitrust violation that the NCAA was doing for over a century, Big C, and you want to throw guys like Reggie Bush under the bus for not being taken advantage of,
I'm not
doesn't make any
throwing
sense.
Reggie Bush under the bus, Charlton. Reggie Bush did what he did. He took the money that he took and the benefits at the time that he took them, just like all the other athletes that got suspended. I mean, your infatuation with Reggie Bush, I don't understand, but you got to go back at all the athletes over time. Basketball, football, baseball players, Charlton, who lost their scholarships, who did not have the ability to go on to the next level because at that time, Charlton, they got blackballed on all levels. They didn't get a chance to go to the NFL like Reggie Bush did or the NBA like other players did, Charlton. They think about players who had to sue trying to get into those leagues. Spencer Hayward, who was the first player, Charlton, to get into the NBA by suing the NBA as an underclassman to get in. They weren't going to allow him into the NBA. Think about Kurt Flood, Charlton, who created free agency in baseball, a black man, because of antitrust. They sued. They won the right for blacks to be able to do these things. So think about the history of blacks who sacrificed for blacks like Reggie Bush, you and I, to be able to ascend to different heights.
And that last chapter of your book makes sense. The first part, I think every freedom fighter and abolitionist would have been embarrassed to hear you defend this cronyism that white men have benefited from in housing, in banking, and employment, and they exploited black people for over 100 years.
You can interpret it saying that I'm defending it, Charlton. I'm not defending any white guy on any cronyism act.
Yes, you are.
I'm defending what was in writing.
By who?
Is that we have the ability. When you sign a college scholarship, Charlton, they put it in front of you, okay? It's up to you whether you choose to read it or not. Or you're just happy to put your name on the ink on the paper.
Okay, but if you spend a little bit more time doing what Congress is doing, you would spend more time trying to punish the guilty, not punish the innocent.
So you saying that Congress did not exist when Reggie Bush was taking those illegal benefits? Congress didn't exist at that time?
No,
what you're saying is Congress just showed up now.
No.
Congress hasn't been around for the past 100
No,
years.
you keep
Matter
saying...
of fact, they have been around since 1776.
Well, you keep saying what I'm saying. I don't mince words, and I know what I'm saying, and I ask anyone listening to Google it. If you have anyone in any country on the planet, just like apartheid in South Africa, you wanna punish the people who tried to escape apartheid because it was in the laws of South Africa that they could not have a right to make a living the way the white people did in South Africa, Big C. In the United States, and college kids, they were just trying to eat so they wouldn't starve. And then white men that were making tens of millions, they say, hey, you got a truck, you got a car, you got to lose your scholarship. They didn't take away the scholarship of those white kids, of those people, of those universities. And that's all I'm saying. Spend more time, if you take a pause, spend more time punishing the guilty, not punishing the innocent that are just trying to not starve. That's just my opinion, because most of those guys, they look like me, you, and our kids, Big C. Your thoughts?
Did you get a car in college? Did you get a free apartment in college?
I bought it.
Did your family receive a free house in college? If they didn't, then he received more benefits than you.
Well, I know a lot of white kids that got a lot of stuff and didn't have to work for it, but you don't see that, and that's okay. I will always defend young black kids that are exploited by old white people, whether it's in banking, that still goes on, it goes on in housing, that still goes on, it goes on in employment, and it's just embarrassing that you defend old white institutions, oligarchies, that have made a fortune off of robbing from black people, and then you clap for them. It doesn't make any sense, but it's all fair in love and war. I want to close out on one thing today, because I believe Big C Sports will be featured on every NFL media guide in the 2021 season. I've already filed what they asked me to file, and I hope that happens. But what I also hope happens, again, we should not be at odds, but people don't have to agree. Every man, woman, and child, if you'll listen to what I'm saying, every single thing you do in life, there are times when people will take advantage of you, they will rob you, they will steal from you, they will forgery your name, they will do a lot of things that are considered illegal until it's brought out to the court of law. And those same people, once it's found out, then they'll beg for forgiveness. The NCAA should be begging these young athletes for forgiveness after making them tens of billions of dollars, and Congress agrees. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the rules have changed. As we've seen over time in society, that new laws come on the books, just like the laws that abolished slavery, just like the laws that were established for black people to have the right to vote in America. Things change over time. But even when those laws are changed, Charlton, it does not go back and correct the wrongs that were already done prior to that. And so they're asking everybody to move on, because if you think about the NCAA and its governing body to go back and correct all the things that they've done to former athletes, Charlton, that have participated at the NCAA level, then all of a sudden the NCAA would not continue to exist.
Yeah, it's called reparations, Big C. Just Google it. It's all fair in love and war. But I wish everybody nothing but the best. I know tonight down in Florida, I know there's a real storm coming. I hope that people can stay safe. But the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're looking to try to crown another Lord Stanley's Cup victory. And I wish them nothing but the best. I know the good old people from Canada, they want to go back and play in their home in native land. It's all fair in love and war. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. And he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young man, rumble, with all you've got to use. How can you lose, Big C? What are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, when you talk about name, image, and likeness, mine still exists at my former universities I attended, and I don't expect anybody to contact me and say, hey, we owe you the money for that we made off of you back in those years. But once again, I want to look forward to the games that are going to be played tonight down in Tampa. And the Tampa Bay Lightning get a chance to strike twice for a second consecutive NHL Stanley Cup championship, Charlton. But once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, and first responders. If that ice melts too fast and someone gets washed away, they'll be there to scoop them up.
They'll be there to scoop them up. It's all fair in love and war. As long as you rise and shine, you can rise and shine every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, as my mama always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.